Welcome to Startup Simplified, Chiragh. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you for having us, rather. We are at Ayoconnect Lounge.
Yeah.
I have some very vivid memories of this place, enjoying cricket matches over here.
Oh yeah.
So thank you for arranging those as well. How are you doing, Chief?
Good. All well. All good.
Awesome. I'm glad we are able to do this. I mean, we've been trying to do this for a while.
Yeah.
We're just not able to match time as such.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's start this with a very quick introduction in your own words about who you are, right? Where did you grow up? Where did you study? And we'll take it forward from there.
Sure. I'm born and brought up in Jakarta. So I relate more being an Indonesian.
Sure.
My dad was also born and brought up in Jakarta. My mom is from India, from Mumbai.
Right.
And so we had a good balance of being Indonesian and being Indian and at the same time. Obviously, my dad was into the exports business, but market tanked in 1998 with the China takeover, being every industry moving to China. So we didn't do well being a family, so we had our own struggles. I was lucky enough to be getting a scholarship for my higher education, which actually was sent to India as a boarding school.
Okay.
Boarding school in India. So,
Okay. Which one was this?
This is in Uti. It's called the Good Shepherd School. And out there I happened to join a competition, which actually I happened to win the competition. I got a decent amount of reward,
Sure.
which actually funded my college.
Okay. And you did your college as well in India?
I did my college in Symbiosis in Pune.
Oh, sweet.
So, and that time I really, inside me, I wanted to be in the creative industry. I wanted to get into advertising, actually.
Okay.
In the day. And media advertising is something very, very, something I was very fond of when I was growing up. But somehow they didn't have a undergrad degree for advertising and media in that time.
True.
So I was directed to institute, which is in a program called Communication Design, where I took up the major and I majored in user experience design when there was no term of user experience design in the industry. So there was no when I graduated, there was hardly any job.
What was this program all about? I mean, I haven't heard of it yet.
Okay. So communication design?
Yeah, communication design. I mean, what is
Communication
program?
design is the art of the ability to share how things are communicated through mediums or channels. One of it being interface and interaction of how people interact with space, with surfaces, and we were learning how how system design flows in all of it. So. Even to the degree where, road design, transport design, interactions between people and community surfaces was actually being taught. In those days also, there was less of quality teachers in generally because this topic.
Well, that's a problem with every developing nation. I mean, we don't treat
even today.
Yeah, we don't treat our teachers well. I mean, we don't pay them well.
Yeah.
I can talk about this in every developing country, to be honest. Apart from the developed countries where teachers are actually paid really well,
they're more
they are revered and they teach for the pleasure of teaching.
Correct.
Right. Rather than in developing countries, the fact is that if you can't do anything, you become a teacher.
Yeah.
Which is a very bad benchmark to start with.
Yeah, so I think people tend to get into teaching because they feel like, hey, that's an easier way to get a job. It's actually not the right way. So again, I mean, back to when I graduated, there was only jobs from the really large institutions like Accenture, Infosys, and the likes, where maybe there was 1-2 open roles, and obviously with they were hiring with 8 to 10 years experience, where the industry was very new.
Sure.
luckily I found an opportunity from a startup based in US,
Okay.
which was just starting out, and the founder being American understood the need of user experience design, and I joined in being the first
Which year was this?
This is 2009.
So 9. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
2009, and then in a matter of 6 months, the startup grew. They fundraised, and somehow the team from 5 became 35, and so forth. And I got multiple chances to progress. So I was able to lead the team from a product design standpoint, and again, the US market being very mobile first.
Yep.
Very iPad first, very centric towards that. Actually gave a lot of confidence for me, where I gained the knowledge being which India was lacking at that time.
Sure.
Because Indonesia was far behind. So being very approaching towards mobile first market actually led me to a point where I was able to take charge of the entire product and the entire not just design, but the entire cycle of product development, releases, signing off, and being.
Why the risk here? I mean, you're talking about 2009. You just graduated,
Right.
and you're in India,
Yeah.
right?
In a market that's very.
And the market. I mean, market. One is challenging. Second, the global economy was just recovering after the recession,
Correct.
right? In 2009. So what prompted you to take that risk back then to join a startup rather than, let's say, joining an established firm like an Accenture and Emphasis, as you mentioned?
Yeah, I think I always, had that 0 to 1 mindset, building from scratch to somewhere, taking it from nothing to somewhere, right?
Okay.
I always had that itch because I felt like if I was dropped into an organization which is large enough, I would be contributing in a very small manner at a large scheme of at the large ship.
Okay.
Whereas I always was eager to drive my hands dirty, and even today I still am very hands-on.
Sure.
In the business of Ayoconnect, driving day-to-day activities, driving the business, etc. So I think I enjoy doing that. So I really wanted to say, hey, I wanted put me in a challenging role where I can contribute bigger, larger, and at that side, and that's always been, and I still feel like I'm still the 0 to 1 guy.
In retrospect, why do you think was the case with you?
Yeah.
Because I mean, generally, more I speak to the founders,
Yeah.
they have their incidents, they have a pattern,
Right.
which basically suggests that, okay, hence they went into this, and there are some by accident altogether, right? So, I mean, do you think, was it the surrounding, was it your friends, was it your parents, was it the fact that your father was in a business? What was it that excited you about the 0 to 1 journey? Because we are still talking about a 21-year-old,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Who's
Just graduated.
who just graduated, who's 1,000 miles away from his home city,
Right.
in India. So, I mean, what was your state of mind? The reason I'm asking this,
Sure.
is a lot of young entrepreneurs today, or aspiring entrepreneurs, have this moment of confusion, right? Especially in this economy. Should I take a job with a startup at
Yeah.
this point,
Yeah.
right? The uncertainty of it.
Right.
What prompted you?
Sure.
Right? I mean, what prompted this thought process of yours? Just in hindsight, what do you think about it?
No, I think it's very helpful to see my dad and mom were very self-driven. We also come from a community which is the Sindhi community, which obviously are just general traders in mind, or
Correct.
people who are business oriented in mind. But also the fact that I feel blessed in a way that my dad didn't have anything established to pass on to me. So I was like, hey, I need to make my mark myself.
Sure.
I need to step it up and do something, show something. And the push was always they're saying, hey, why don't I come back to Jakarta, work for some uncle, work for some relative, work for this so and so. Whereas I always had that in mind that, hey, I want to prove myself. I want to build something from my own. I want to show that I have my own career path, and something that I've studied, which again, taking the user experience design journey, where I realized in the very early days that design would not pay off so well. Need to get into, if I want to become senior management level, I need to get into product. Product has decision making, and that's where, again, gives us the room to play with the risk, to take decision making and stuff. So actually, that part actually helped, led me from design to product, from product to management, and that brought me into that journey. Again, going back, right, I do feel younger people should if they have the opportunity to take risk, especially when they don't have anything to lose, right? I didn't have anything to lose. Luckily, my parents were still working at that time, so they could self-sustain themselves. Sure. Which is a blessing. And for me, it was like, hey, if I fail coming out of this, I do have that fallback, which is like at that time.
Correct.
Which is, okay, going to an uncle, going to a relative, finding another job.
Easy to start again.
Right?
So,
lower chances. Okay. Lower risk.
Okay. No, fair enough. Now, it might not be from experience, but I just want to understand your thoughts on this. We have spoken about young people who are starting up. How about folks like me, right? I'm 37.
Yeah.
I've got a kid who's studying, and I'm pretty much in mid of my career, right? And I'm starting up now, right? So the risks are massive.
Yeah, it's higher.
It's way higher. It's way higher. What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on people who start in their late 30s or early 40s?
No, I think there's a couple of things, right? Like there's definitely more experience, which I think the where to start, how to start is much more by default inculcated already in I think, and it comes with the right network. I think whoever age doesn't matter.
Sure.
Of course, there is his own risk, but the access to the right distribution, the access to the right network is very key at this point. Because again, like going back pertaining to Indonesia, it's a very relationship-driven market.
Absolutely.
So which means that, people talk about there is an inner circle, people who are already sort of, people who know who needs to get invested, by whom needs to invested, etc. Not denying the fact that there is.
No, absolutely.
But it is.
But it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And again, like, going back to your situation, if I was in that shoe, the risk is higher. It just depends on how the individual takes it. Some people really want to play it safe and say, hey, I want to be in a larger organization where I'm just getting paid really well. Maybe the mandate is similar, right? Like the struggles are similar. The challenges are not less. It's also the pressure to take it forward, but then owning your own and really build it from scratch. You're giving it anyways that 200%, even if you're working at somewhere else.
Sure.
That's the urge that comes in and say, hey, the satisfaction is much more in doing it yourself. But it's very important. I think it's not spoken enough. The support that's needed from the family members.
Absolutely.
Right? I think from the journey that I've actually done, and also even today, people do ask me, hey, what's next? You've. I think it's important to get the support from the family members to say, hey, do I want to get to that stage? Can I take it forward? Because sometimes they're not on board, sometimes we're on board. So that's important.
Absolutely. Okay, sounds good. We will get back to your earlier journey in a while, but let's talk about the seeds of Ayoconnect.
Okay.
Right. So you've spoken about this in the past as well.
Right.
There's this too much which has been written. Because you've been at it for last 7 years, right?
Yes.
So by the virtue of it, there's so much of material out there.
Yeah.
What I want to understand is, this journey of starting something in Indonesia, and this would be your first job as such, right? As well, in Indonesia, Indonesia per se, right? So, although the fact that you're born here, you were raised here, but your whole career was out there in India, until you started Ayoconnect, right? So, two things. One, how you went about it, right? As you said, you don't come from money, right? How you started Ayoconnect person, and why? Why Ayoconnect?
Yeah, I think we wanted to, when we started out the journey, we wanted to solve for all your bill payments in one place. That was what we started out with. Being in a mindset that, hey, this model worked in other market, let's bring that model here, because it there is a gap, and that's how just a general tendency of a founder being,
which is fair. I mean,
fair. Not knowing what we're jumping into. Because once you jump into it, then you start, scratching the surface and say, hey, bill payments exist for like decades.
It's
you're just adding a technology layer to it. Now the question is, how can you build
a sustainable business out of it?
Because sometimes adding tech looks really shiny and great, and you have a valuation, you have things. But then how do you build towards actual business, and how to grow and capture a good market share? So I guess when you're part of the journey, you're learning so much. You're unlearning so much. You're also learning so much. So I think we went into it not knowing how distribution cycle works, who are the suppliers, how do we get to the real principle, what can we do to take things forward. So a lot of that started coming in while we were at it, right?
And sorry, just one quick question. As a first-time founder, is B2C more sexy because of its scale, rather than B2B, which is presumed to be boring? Just out of curiosity,
for me,
asking
or
this.
generally?
No, for general. And of course, we'll include your perspective as well.
I think market has shifted, but it used to be B2B very boring, not sexy, nothing interesting about it. It's all about B2C. You own customer base. It's just the
scale of it, right?
A market has been like that, but now things have started to shift.
Correct.
I think sentiment comes mostly from the investor community, saying if investor community are so tightly knit, they also play on FOMO, they also play on market.
They all sing the same song.
They say the same thing, right? If one person says it, all the rest also agrees to it. So again, like B2B has started to shift to become very interesting. It's because they realize that it's sustainable.
Correct.
It's long term, and what we're building is building the pipes, right? Again, like building pipes take longer. It's like building the infrastructure for financial services.
Okay, before you get into this, what is open finance? I mean, from a layman's perspective, right? I have got some understanding. But I mean, I've been at it for a while. But for anyone who's listening, what is open finance? I mean,
no, absolutely.
Embedded finance, open finance, like there's so many fancy words.
There's so many terms put into this. Right? Like in a basic way, it's like if you want to touch upon bankable and unbanked individuals through financial products, not open finance.
Okay.
I mean, just generally speaking, open banking is a term as well. Open banking is a subset of open finance, which means that open banking is touching upon the bankable customers.
Okay.
Ultimately, open finance is supposed to help financial inclusion by bringing, of course, more people into the accessing financial services products. And it can have its own means, like, for example, via payments, via lending, via verification, via so many different aspects that can bring people to the financial services world. And what we're doing here is we're trying to support that agenda overall, because we do see that there are gaps. There is opportunity in the market. There's so many aspects that can be brought. There's so many integrations that's needed.
Sure.
And the role of an enabler here is very, very much key to fast track go to market, to aggregate all the possible financial services and financial products, be it banking solutions in a way. So we're looking at saying, hey, can we, we look at banks from a two-sided perspective. One is they consuming our services, which they also want to become super apps. They also want to embed multiple solutions.
Sure.
And the other way is the banks themselves have so many financial services, APIs and products that we can sort of surface to the platforms. So there's a need for collaboration. Whereas we come in and say, hey, let's speed track that collaboration because we have that stack ready. And again, like platforms generally want to have certain journeys, certain aspects which are actually customized, or certain things that are actually more plug and play, where working with banks can take really long, and that's where we come in. So again, ultimately building towards open network of financial services product.
So in summary, would it be fair to say that Ayoconnect is enabling both banks as well as businesses to include more services, to talk to each other more comfortably?
Yes. Ultimate goal, again, I think we, that's the real benefit for businesses, for banks, for the businesses. But ultimately bringing more individual Indonesians to the financial services radar. So that's touching upon indirectly to the Indonesian customers through the platforms and through these services.
So you started in 2016, right?
Correct. We started 2016.
Take us back to 2016. You're just getting started.
Yeah.
What was the funding environment like at that point, and what was your journey at that point? What was your first raise? How much was it?
I left my previous job at Times Internet, which actually my previous boss Mithun Sampath, who's now part of Kred. He's a founding member of Kred. He was the one who wrote, he and Akrit.
Akrit is a founder of Haptik.
Some of them, Sandeep Tandon, who's LP in Sequoia, and a couple of the others. So we were blessed that we had that network of individuals who wrote the first early check for us, and that was an angel fund, right? Sure. But then we went on to raise from a early stage investor from Japan, Japanese guys, and I wrote our first check, and it was actually. If you go back in Tech in Asia, back in the day, we raised one of the largest seed round in Indonesia. And
what was it?
That was $1 million.
Okay.
And today's time, again, so much has changed that $1 million is somehow an angel round these days, right?
Yeah.
Or pre-seed.
Pre-seed rather.
It's a pre-seed.
Yeah.
Again, in those days, there was the goods and bads, because there was pressure. By raising a big round.
Sure.
But I think it was blessed that me and my co-founders came with some degree of experience in how to run a startup, what a startup looks like, being in a tech environment, being in understanding how to deliver. We have different backgrounds, so we partner out very well. And I think people were backing us as a team, but we also got rejected by so many people, right? Sure. Said that, hey, I had just moved from India. Though being Indonesian, people said that, hey, I don't think so. This will work. I don't think so. Partnering between an Indian and a German will work here. And so many aspects of things that people were sharing and rejecting us. But ultimately, you just need some few believers that actually take things forward. So it was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle, but we raised a decent round, and by raising a decent round, again, brought us to a place where let's build the right team. I feel like we're always been blessed by hiring the right folks in the team, and we have a really good degree of people that we have been able to bring in into the company and taking things forward. But the challenges actually adds up over a period of time. So when we were doing B2C again, like when the back in the day, the plus is that we had aggregated almost most of the bill payments or utility companies that were there in Indonesia, and that became the core advantage when we had to, so many platforms in the market which wanted to actually roll out bill payments, embedded bill payments or bill payments as a use case, naturally came to us. And that sort of brought us to a place where, are we foolish enough to keep it for ourselves or actually open it up? So that's where we changed to become, a B2B oriented.
What was this transition like? Because the DNA of the company is a B2C company, and a B2B company is very different.
Very, very good point, actually. So what had happened was literally we were about 70, 80 people at that time.
During B2C time.
Yeah, during B2C time, about plus minus that stage. And I think we were about, out of that 80, 30 of them were tech. And the rest 50 were just like operations, finance, marketing, and all of the rest of the department. Almost everybody left us except for the engineers. Because the engineers found it saying, hey, this is exciting. I have more.
It's very exciting for them.
I have more problems. I have more solutions. I have more, work to do.
Correct.
Whereas the rest of the guys said, hey, these guys are not going to survive. This is, they're foolish. What are they doing? They don't know what they're doing. They don't have any runway. They don't have any other, way to survive. And that's why they're changing, they're pivoting, etc. So what
was the runway like at that point?
And then there was, we had a couple of months, but we came to a stage where we had to prove ourselves by bringing some platform.
Okay.
There was time, I won't say when, but there was time when we were just, 2 weeks from a very dark day, right? So, and we were 2 weeks away from paying the next payroll. So we've seen difficult days. We've seen very, very difficult days.
How does one cope with that? I mean, I am sure there are a lot of founders who are in a similar situation.
Right.
Might not be 2 weeks, but 3 months away or 4 months away.
Of course. Yeah.
How does one deal with? Everyone has conviction.
Yeah.
People have conviction, hence they have been at it.
Correct.
For a while. Right. How does one deal with it?
I think it's very important for us is to keep your all the co-founders really, really being in the same headspace, right? Saying, hey, we want to get this over the line. I think most of the startups break when there is internal conflict at that point of time, which is already a very big struggle. I think for many, for us, luckily we're in the right age, we're in the right experience, we're in the similar stages of life. We had that idea of, hey, we want to take this forward. Let's take it no matter what. We just, again, like we pitched to about 100 plus investors with the funnel ratio probability of, just getting one out of that 100 plus. So luckily we got that one, and who believe in the story that, hey, we will make this happen, and B2B is the right space and stuff. And again, like B2B was not at that stage where it was already very exciting for investors, but we had this believer. Again, like I'm very happy to share. BRI Ventures was the one. Nico Vijaya, very thankful for him at that stage to believe in me and Jacob. We were just few weeks away from shutting shop.
This was in
This was late 2018.
2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
Late 2018. Yeah.
In hindsight, why do you think they came on board?
Because they realized that the value of synergy that we could play with the bank
Okay.
Second is I think they foresee B2B being a very important aspect. The role of an aggregator, the role of an enabler being very important in this market. And we had certain pipes already. We had certain platforms which were already live. We had the conviction internally was strong that, hey, we can take this forward. So again, like we, and that sort of that belief at that time really came through from all sides, and it took us to a stage where we were like really pumped. The minute we got it, we were like really pumped. We were like, hey, now we need this. Now we need to prove it even at a bigger scale, right? We're seeing the bottom balls, and I mean, honestly speaking, me personally as well, I've seen dark days, be it through Ayoconnect or be it through my previous startup or through different various stages of life. So we know what it feels to be on the ground.
Sure. And do you think you become immune as a founder once you've gone through this journey 2 or 3 times? Do you think the immunity sets in, or does it hurt and bother you or affect you the same way as the previous times?
It does, but it doesn't affect us to a certain degree, because we
some level of immunity is
yes, because we know what to expect.
Correct.
We know we're more cool-headed in terms of, hey, what do we need to do? How do we approach things? What are the real struggles and challenges? How to navigate? How to mitigate? How to plan better? I think what we've learned is how to plan better over the course of the years that we've run. Ayoconnect's been 7 years and it continues to grow, and we hopefully to grow it further. And again, super excited at the stage where we are. When we start planning better, we know what it takes. And I would say again, like we're blessed that we have been, backed by the really good guys in the investor community, the right people who really add value beyond money, and they really bring their perspectives in the table and say, hey, let's plan better as a team, right? We're all in the same boat.
Sure.
It's not like, hey, I'm going to leave you aside because you're, I'm writing you off. Some people did, but I would say like most of the people who had majority were really, really supportive of what we could come through, and blessed to have them, I would say.
Sure. What are your thoughts on this? There are a lot of loose statements, and then there were a lot of well-thought statements.
Okay.
Like, for example, one of the well-thought statements comes from Nitin Kamath, the founder of Zerodha, wherein he talks about the liability which comes with venture funding.
Yeah.
Right? Be it in terms of freedom of experimentation,
right,
or returns, or liability in general, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
of course, I'm sure. But let's talk about both the sides, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we can go on about how great it is or how shit it is,
right.
But I'm sure there's a middle way, right? I mean, both need each other, right? So venture capitals need founders to get good returns and pass it on to their LPs.
Right.
The founders need venture capitals to be able to grow this dream of theirs, right?
Yeah.
And create a sustainable business. But what is your thought on this liability part?
I think my perspective is that we need to raise. It's good to raise it from the right guys, but also make sure that you as a founder have eye-to-eye level and equal levels with the investor. So sometimes people feel, oh, that's my investor, I need to listen to everything that they say. They're God, they know exactly what needs to. It's very important to find the right balance. And you need to feel personally connected and say, hey, I can relate to this, they can relate to me and relate to the business and add value. And we also make sure, like, over the years, we've made sure that who takes the majority seat or who has the voting rights, how does that play out with strategic investors, institutional investors, angel investors, and other areas are very important to find the right mix within your board and your construct. I think a lot of founders don't get that right.
Yeah.
And they raise funds, and then they realize they raise funds because there was funding on the table, but not probably from the right guys. Right? I'm not. And that becomes a really big problem over the line.
Sure.
Over a period of time. And I've seen so many founders which actually find that struggles and difficulty because they don't know how to guide through. I would say, again, going back, my personal take is that we had the right advisors in place as well. It's so key to have people who can guide you forward, who have seen this journey, who tells us that, hey, let's construct a term sheet. Let's construct the way this is the right way. This is the right guys to raise from. These are not the right guys. These are the right terms, etc. So I think that played out very well. Personally saying that if you're able to bootstrap things and take things forward on an individual basis and keep the majority, then why not? Then that's great. If you have the margins to take it as a business, different business have different takes. I think if you want to play scale, you want to go like all out and really capture a really good market share. Raising is really good, and it's needed for you to capture that. I feel different founders have different level of grit and also different level of mindset where they want to take it, right?
Sure.
It's like playing a game, to what degree you want to go forward. And I think that brings different kind of founders, the level of founders in the market automatically, are built and segmented like that as well from an investor standpoint.
Sounds pretty fair. So we are right now through this podcast, we are also starting up a venture capital series, right? Okay. So all this while we've been speaking to startup founders, getting their perspective.
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, let's bring some venture capitals on the podcast as well. Let's hear their side, right? So we are doing bringing folks from pre-seed to seed to series A, B, and C, and throughout these initial chats which we've been having, they've always asked, what's the flow like? Are you going to ask this? Are you going to ask this? Are you going to ask about us writing off investments?
Right.
And more. And I'm like, we will be. But at the same time, I would want your founder's view, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, in your case, you were 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of investors would have given up at that point.
Yeah.
The initial investors.
Right.
Angels may or may not, because it's a small check.
Correct.
It's been a while. In your opinion, how does this work with the VCs? And I'm gonna share with them as well, right? That okay, hey, listen, the founders think like this. What do you think about it? Right? So how do you think they go about, let's say, hey, listen, I've made an initial investment, but I don't think it's going to work out. I am capable of doubling down, but I would rather not. I'm going to write this off.
Yeah.
What is the trigger point?
I think
according to you,
the VCs would tell better, but I'm just sharing from a founder's perspective, right? I think from where they need. Again, like venture capital is not doing, NGO business, so they're not giving money for free and just seeing it. They are also answerable to LP, and they are answerable to whoever has put in the fund, right? It's very important to look at it like a clear, what's the return? And again, like if the VC fund is doubling down, they need to be really sure that there's someone else down the line who's also able to put in more. Then that's when they would potentially get partial exits or potential exits. If there is no room for, or the valuation is dropped, or not not growing at the rate of what they had anticipated, because whenever they are writing an investment, they always have a thought process saying, hey, this is going to give me whatever 3x, 5x, 7x, 10x, depending on what they write, right? And it's clear numbers game but sometimes it's also an emotional game.
Sure.
So depends on VC to VC. Again, like the fact that we raised from a strategic investor.
Yeah.
At that point, because all the institutional investors wouldn't want to do that. Because they're like, hey, it's very risky. You're going to die in a few weeks, right? That was a very scary situation to be in, and that's where I think we were lucky enough to get a strategic, which again they decide their own fund. They don't have they don't
have the LPs to answer.
They have the bank, but then it's just one, and them they have the mandate. They know what needs to be done. So again, like that really helps.
There's a lot of VC bashing happening these days, especially on LinkedIn. I keep coming across various posts wherein there's a lot of bashing which happens.
Okay. All
right. So the way I see it personally is that it is very biased.
Okay.
I personally feel that we should be thankful to VCs to large extent to be able to create such large experiments. Large experiments which have become successful. Some have, some haven't.
Right.
But at the same time, there was this whole phase in the last few years wherein growth at any cost, burn and burn fast. I'm not sure if you've gone through that, wherein there was a lot of pressure coming from venture capitals that, hey, why you're not spending?
Right.
You've raised, why you're not spending? Speed it up.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't deny that happens, but I also feel like founders need to put their
hands,
put their feet down and say, hey, this makes sense for the stage of the company, for the business that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We also not denying the fact that we somehow had the privilege to hire, and we overhired. Thinking that the market will really pick up at the stage, but the market is not picked up. It's still in the stage where we need to wait and watch for a lot of pieces to fall in place. Certain things are in our control, certain things are not in our control. So again, like it's but I would really urge that it's VCs will keep telling 20 things, but as founders, you need to know your business. You need to know fundamentals. You need to know whether this fits in the right stage, in the right time. And we do things not because of someone's pressure. We do things because it makes a rational decision, and it really making sense for the business, or for the runway, or for for securing certain supply, or for the betterment for everybody. I think that's rational decisions. But again, like I think founders, they should get the right advisors. They should get the right approach to be able to know whether that's the right thing to do or not.
Absolutely, with you 100% on this. Let's talk about layoffs.
Yes.
Right. So it's not been a great year and a half.
Yeah.
The sentiments are bad. There have been massive layoffs happening across companies. Some companies which are even profitable.
Yeah.
Some are driven by the forecast.
Yeah.
Some are driven purely from a runway perspective.
Right.
A lot of founders are not very comfortable talking about it.
Yes.
I'm glad you are.
Yeah.
So let's start with the layoffs that happened at Ayoconnect.
Yeah.
And then we talk about layoffs in general.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think, like I've already said it before, right? We over anticipated the revenues that will kick in because of market adoption, whereas it's not saying that this is generally across. I think we as founders, we need to have the controls in our hands.
Correct.
We need to have there's two factors: revenue versus cost.
Sure.
Cost, how much it's going to, how much it takes to actually month on month and quarter on quarter, etc. But revenue, sometimes you can anticipate, sometimes you cannot anticipate. Sometimes you've already planned something, but it's not going as per plan, right? And luckily, if the controls are in your hands, you can adjust it. Mm-hmm. And we're taking the right measures in the right time. Mm-hmm. I think it's very important to like I said, when we started as well, we've got better with planning.
Yeah.
And as founders, it's so important to take that things in charge and say, hey, this is what we'll take to, buy runway or allow us to experiment or, bring the solution forward or let things take its time because it's not in our control because of market, but let's control costs. And that's what we did.
Okay. How many employees were laid off?
I think it was just about 10% of the company.
Okay.
So 10%, but we've done it. There's some which are natural churns because obviously when you do layoff, people get concerned.
Of course.
And which is that's a struggle of a founder again. Like trying to convince everybody, saying, hey,
this is for the good.
This is for the good. This is why we're doing it, and it's actually. It's for the betterment for everybody, and again, like people, there are people who just get panicked and say, "Hey, this is going nowhere." They create their own stories. They create, and that's part of.
But as a founder, how do you go about it?
I think it's just important to and I'm getting better at it. We're getting better at it, so we try to communicate what it is. Why we're doing it, what's the roadmap, what are the challenges that we face.
Sure.
And sometimes they feel like we're discussing things behind a closed wall, behind a closed, glass room in a meeting room, not knowing, what is the decisions, what are being discussed. And that's something that we try to communicate. And I've realized that sometimes we're facing external a lot of media, a lot of stages, a lot of invites, etc. But the real stakeholders that need the boost are actually internal.
True.
So sometimes I've started to plan that better. Also say, hey, I want to spend time doing Ask Me Anything sessions with the company, with the team. So and it's a very open forum. As candid as possible, as much as visibility I can give, we give. But layoffs are never easy for any company. But it's also something that's going on across the market. So I think we need to understand that companies like us are not doing it for the sake of doing it. We're doing it because we know how to control things and why we're doing it for control reasons. But there are companies, there are startups which I've heard and I've seen just do it because we say it, or because the next door is doing it. And sometimes rational, sometimes irrational.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's never easy to even read about it. I mean, just putting oneself in their shoe, it gets a bit tricky because the markets are bad and finding new jobs are difficult. Okay, while we are talking about employees and more, personally, I feel there's a lot of salary correction which is happening across, especially the developing countries, developing economies, with folks who are in the startup space.
Right.
I mean, we would hear the ridiculous salaries for folks with 4 years, 5 years of engineering experience in a startup. But it is all starting to change. What are your thoughts on that? Is it true? The corrections are happening?
I think it's not a bad thing, right? I feel it's not a bad thing because everything had inflated. At certain point,
including fundings,
the valuations, everything just about 18 months to 24 months, and things have changed.
It's a natural balance of sorts.
Things need to balance out. I think that there was time when people were like, hey, I'm going to jump jobs, I'm getting 2x, I'm getting 150%, etc. So I think that entire thing has started to become normalizing, right? And that normalizing is not a bad thing, I would say. So again, we need to realize, we personally in Ayoconnect, we measure based on ROI. If an individual is giving 100%, and we do benchmark against the market, and we say, hey, this person deserves to get what he's deserving to get because of if we had to change this person or we had to rehire, that would be, the cost is that much.
Sure.
So you're not really saving, or you're not really, and the person is actually giving 100%. Or some people actually, we identify getting underpaid but giving 150% output. There are people who are actually underperforming and not giving 100% because maybe distractions are happening. They're thinking about other aspects, or maybe there is personal things that's going on in the house and maybe affecting their performance, etc. And some people who are performing and previously and suddenly not performing is a question where we understand. But I think going back to salary corrections, I think from an employer perspective, it's a normal thing. It's actually not a bad thing.
Sure.
From an employee perspective, I would say it's important to just look at that your job is secure. If you're giving your 100%, your role is so critical for the company, or in certain degree there is dependency, you should not be worried as long as you give your output. So I think that's a perspective that people need to realize. And I think we have seen people who are okay and accepting corrections because they feel like, hey, it's a difficult job market out there. Rather than going and finding something freshly new, adapting to a new place, not sure how the funding situation is over there. They would rather accept this because this is more planned. They know also they do have loans to pay. They do have families to feed.
Sure.
So I think we understand all these situations and we try to adjust as well.
Sure. How important do you think is PR for a founder?
Okay.
I'm not talking about the company.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the brand as such.
Individual.
Individual.
Yeah.
For a startup founder who's either just starting up or just raised a small round, how important do you think is PR?
I think looking at how the importance of social media is today's day and age, it again depends on brands. Two aspects, I would say. It depends on what you're selling or the brand itself or the platform. Second is it depends on the individual, because some founders are actually media shy. I was personally in the past, honestly speaking, I was mostly not on the scene.
You were media shy or you were an introvert? Or both?
I had stage frightness. So
Okay.
I would say that I wanted to, like I said, I came from a creative background. I wanted to be in the media advertising space. I always felt that I could be there, but I didn't have the confidence.
Okay.
Maybe the confidence came, because I don't have practice or I don't know what it takes first. Second is I needed to improve my Bahasa, which of course I knew, but media language or what to say, what not to say is very important. Third is, and people don't want to speak about this, but I will speak about it because I'm just very open. I was losing my hair.
Okay.
And being as a founder, if your personality is moving, having changes in the way you look and stuff, you lose your confidence at that time, right? So
Sure.
I had to decide whether I just accept who I am and I just look the way I am and just move forward, or I need to do something about it. But then all those things, come in play.
Sure.
It's important to invest on how we dress, how we approach things. Today I'm a little bit more casual. Normally I'm in a batik like you.
Sure. I'm overdressed for the occasion, but I have another meeting, guys.
Which is great, isn't it? You're never underdressed in batik in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So again, it's important to, going back to your previous question, is so important for, in today's day and age, I feel it's important for us being in the B2B space, dealing with banks, dealing with, platforms, dealing with,
the regulatory bodies.
The associations, etc., is very important to put us out there and being, more. We also realize that previously we used to be always thinking, how does policy being made? Why is this regulation coming in play? How is this license putting in place? We always felt the urge that, hey, we should be in the driving seat also. We should be contributing in that space. We should be
Positively contribute.
positively contributing in that inner circle to decide, also to understand why it's being done and why it's rolled out. we felt like we were not included, or we couldn't be included, or we didn't have the chance. So we've done fundamentally a lot of things in place which cannot attribute to one single thing, but a lot of aspects which have actually put us in a better shape to be out there and saying, hey, let's be in the driving seat if possible. Let's be contributing to that policy. Let's understand how policies are actually made. Can we actually be part of it, etc. So that mindset has put us in a place where we need to be brand recognized first at an Ayoconnect level, and of course the founders are always the brand
ambassadors of sorts.
Ambassadors for B2B, especially.
So, no, absolutely. I completely agree. I mean, even for us, apart from getting to know great founders, the podcast is a way to create a brand recall.
Absolutely.
Right. And it has helped. I won't deny it at all. It has served the purpose.
Right.
So
it's a great platform.
Yeah.
Stories.
Sure. And I mean, we try to conduct in a way that it does not become a PR material for either party.
Yeah.
People actually derive some knowledge, some wisdom out of it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's do a fun segment. I just thought of it while you were talking. So let's hear your thoughts, probably a line or two, about certain sectors which I'm going to mention in Indonesia. Okay. Based on your interaction with the founders in those segments, or venture capital, or any information in general. Okay. So let's start with Edtech.
The education tech.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's my take is very difficult to make money on it.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about influencer marketing. The creator economy in general.
Yeah. I think it's definitely exciting because there is Indonesia is filled with a lot of creators. I still don't know how, again, like
a real sustainable business can be made.
Yes, how sustainable business can be made. But from the outside perspective, it's an exciting sector.
Artificial intelligence.
Passing through AI, I think is generative AI is more important. I think it's the way to go.
Sure.
We have started to realize, I've started to realize personally how important it is and how it can derive towards real business value.
Sure.
Which I think people speak about AI, but not really sure how to match it with business and value.
I was about to say the same. Yeah. I feel we hear a lot more about AI than we use or see it.
Correct.
Right now.
Correct. People are talking more than utilizing it in actual use cases and real business case. Yeah.
Fintech, especially lending. What are your thoughts?
There's so much, again, like it's regulatory driven. So things can change. But I do feel like Indonesia is a very loan driven market. People are
the interest rates are pretty high. The small loans.
Yes, but still people it's a very lending driven market. So people do but it's very important to know that in Indonesia, and I'm going to use bahasa over here.
Sure.
It's gali lubang tutup lubang, means that they dig one hole and they pay the other.
Correct.
And then they dig another hole and they pay the other. So that behavior is tricky. It's very scary.
It's very worrisome. I mean, from an overall economy perspective, it's very worrisome.
It can impact very badly.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the dependency from people on lending is very high. So there's definitely business and opportunities to be made over there.
What are your thoughts on SAAS?
Important, very important. Indonesia don't generally pay for it, unfortunately, but I think the India market, the Western market have sort of realized. Why also I feel is because they are they think from a tech perspective. Indonesia don't think from a tech perspective.
Correct.
First, approach. Over there, they over here again is a very relationship driven market. As long as they can throw people at it and solve things, but whereas in a market like India, they think tech first. So
on top of your mind, if you want to nominate another founder for a chat
Okay.
with us, whom would you?
I really admire companies that has built from ground up and got really good product market fit. And I do believe one such company is Kredivo.
Kredivo, okay.
Which I think have be it the brand, be it the market share, they've actually hit significant product market fit, very relevant to the market. So I would nominate them.
Sure. Umang, please reply to Dennis.
Yeah.
Please confirm.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll love to hear Umang on the show as well, and hear his challenges and struggles, and learnings as well. So yeah.
Okay. We are towards the fag end of this chat.
Right.
For anyone who was starting today,
okay,
in Indonesia, what would your advice be? Rather, let me put it across this way. If you were starting today, with all the experience that you have, right, with all the expertise which you have of being through this journey, what would you do differently? Very hypothetical.
If I was starting today, different people are in different wavelength or stages of life. I would run it bootstrap.
Or run it bootstrap.
Yeah.
I hear this from everyone nowadays.
I don't know if it's a trend. That's scary. If it's a trend, but I think it's a wise thing to, until and unless you hit a decent market fit and then raise the right amount. I do think funding and raising from the right guys makes sense. But if it's a very early stage founder, you really find another founder to get advice from, who's relevant to your business, relevant to the connection that they can bring. It's so critical to help you. In order to be more successful, you need to be associated with people who are successful.
Correct.
I think automatically that circle of manifestation of being in the positive way actually will help.
Sure. What are your thoughts on these large unicorn startups which have gone public?
Yeah.
Be it in India, be it in US, be it in Indonesia.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they've tanked in terms of their share prices. They're like down by 60%, 70% on an average. I'm just averaging it out, not pointing to one.
Sure.
Why do you think that has happened? Why do you think the public, the retail investor is having such a different view compared to an investor or a private equity firm which came at the fag end of making the company public?
See, the minute you go into public rec, there's so many things that you cannot control. But also you need to realize that these guys are not floating 100% or not floating the entire company. So I think the controls are still within the large tech, the large companies. Retail investors, honestly speaking, they we saw a wave of spike from retail investors during COVID because they had money. Hey, where do we invest?
And a lot of new investors came in the market. A lot of folks who had never put money on the share market.
And that's where fundamentally, they're seeing, they're not used to with the risk fluctuations, right? And this fluctuates very, very fast,
especially for the startups you're talking about.
For the startup, I mean, generally, most.
If you look at overall, the markets have been stable.
But then startups is very fluid, right? And people.
Just a thought again. Do you feel the retail investors are more concerned about very clear, clean metrics? Revenue profit, not the GMV, not the number of bookings, for example. What do you think? Do you think that is the case?
I think the problem is that new retail investors have a learning curve.
Yeah.
they themselves don't know whether they're playing short term or long term or mid
correct.
term, or how to invest, where to invest, etc. They're just playing, saying, "Hey, this is going to public. This is exciting. Let's put in, right." So there's a learning curve, and this learning curve will make them realize to say, "Hey, does this make sense?" At the end of the day, you don't really have that mindset whether I need to invest in tech or non-tech, or traditional sector or modern sector, etc. So it's just like, hey, what if I invest X, can I make a return?
Sure.
That's a mindset. I feel there is a learning curve in that stage of the market today. But I do feel in the long term, the large techs know what they're doing, and they they have the right guys driving the ship forward. And we'll hopefully start to see good things. But again, like I think every company in today's day and age so critical to know their business and fundamentals, which is revenue and cost. Again, it boils down to those two metrics, saying, hey, where can you make money? Where can you save cost? Let's start forward.
Sure. You've been at it with Ayoconnect for 7 years.
Yeah.
Right. You've seen the journey. You've seen the ups and the downs. You've seen great times where the money was in.
Yeah.
There's a large runway.
Correct.
At plays. Now you are in this macro economy where there's massive amount of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Thankfully, you are in a space which is still extremely positive.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with folks who are sitting on a lot of cash, be it on the bank side or the enterprise side. What keeps you motivated?
I think for the larger period of time, and motivation comes with different stages.
Sure.
I would say in the early days, pulling back to where it was, it was really proving to the family members that I should not work with my uncle. I think very early days, right? I can. And then there was a second phase, which is like, hey, I to build a reputable brand.
Sure.
I think with the first and the second ticked off. Now we're at the stage of like, hey, can we build this? Can we make this a brand which is existing for a really long term? Right? Whether we are there or not there, can this brand still exist? Just like a bank, right? There's a tower on it. There's a real business being made, and there's a brand on top of it, and we're dealing with most of the tech-based enterprise and also the banks. But now we're looking at, can we tap into the top 500 companies of Indonesia, which are not necessarily the other financial institution and non-financial institution. Can we really tap into that? So I think that really motivates me. Obviously there's a positive energy circle with around where we are, what we're doing, the relevant solutions that we're bringing to market. So again, like super excited to bring that forward. And I think the platform and the stage is there. It's just that we need to push forward for more things to happen.
What does money mean to you?
I feel it's a necessity, but it's not the biggest motivation for me.
Are you the first Sindhi to ever say this?
Possible.
Possible, right?
I think for me it's really the drive to prove things, to build from 0 to 1 and 1 to 10 and 10 to 100.
That is a bigger motivator than money.
Motivation than money, because I feel like the minute you achieve that, money will come through.
Sure.
Though
it's a byproduct, right?
Though in startups founders make money very, very late in the.
Yeah, I want to talk about that as well. Yeah, I mean, so I've heard different stories. I'm very new to this, right?
Yeah.
But thanks to the network, I've been speaking to quite a few founders over a long period of time, and I've heard different stories. There are some founders who pay themselves very well.
Yeah.
Then there are some founders who to basically work on zero salary, basically have their needs, basics covered, but work on zero salary. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, how should a founder go about deciding his or her own salary?
Different stages of the startup, of course, will determine how much you can extract, withdraw, etc. And of course, it needs to be rational. In the early days, we used to just cover our basic necessities and expenses because we all have to, have families, have to live as well, and pay utilities, basic needs. But we benchmark against what would other C-levels and CXOs. If we had to hire someone to do my role in that position, how much would the company shell out?
Sure.
Again, there's a fundamental, very, very important perspective. We really don't, consider the startup to be our baby or anything of that sort. We're very, it's cultural mindset saying, hey, we work as a team. We're not working as a family. And there's no right and wrong. There are companies which work like a family, which they say there are employees which work for them like years and years and years. And there's a cultural aspect to it. There's plus minuses.
Sure.
We work not like a family. We work like a team. So again, if everybody is replaceable, including founders, including anybody, and that's not, as long as you need to keep performing, you need to be in the mindset that, hey, if you're withdrawing that much, you need to drive that much volume and value as well.
I think I got my thumbnail for the video. Everyone is replaceable, including founders. Okay, last question. Just slightly on the personal side. You married?
Yes.
You've got kids?
Yes.
How old is your kid?
My kid is 3.5 years old.
Okay. Do you think having a kid has any fundamental changes in you as a person as well as a founder?
I think it does have fundamental changes in me personally. I don't know if it has or haven't thought through whether it has impacted any much in the startup, but I do feel the whole startup journey itself has put me much more grounded. Though I come from a grounded family in the first place, which didn't have anything. We the struggles were very real.
Sure.
And built everything from whatever we have from ground.
Sorry, I mean, just on the struggles part, right? Yeah. I mean, what I personally also feel that struggles get very amplified if you are in a circle or in a society where everyone else is doing really great.
Okay.
This is a realization which I've had recently. I come from a proper lower middle class family growing up in Mumbai. Proper out there in the slums, and we have grown out of it, right?
I can understand.
Yeah. So then when I meet someone who has come from a very tier 4, tier 5 village of India, his or her struggles are very different.
Very different.
So that's when I got thinking that, okay, struggles are real, right?
Yeah.
The pain, the hurt is real. But it is always in comparison to things around you.
Yes, correct.
Right?
Correct.
But yeah, I feel that.
No, why I say that is because I think a lot of my, friends being in school or childhood early days, their fathers had established businesses which were set.
Correct.
They had cars and drivers and things to their disposal, which I felt like wasn't privileged enough, though there was to a certain degree, but not to that level that I could match or be in that.
Sure.
While
these things do affect. I've seen this a lot. It stays somewhere in your subconscious,
and I think I take it it motivates me.
Correct.
It motivates me to feel like, hey, I want to prove it to myself, to my circle, to be it to society. It was the biggest motivation in the early days. Now I've come to a point where I am who I am. I've started accepting whatever it takes.
Sure.
Today, things are there. It's great. Tomorrow, God forbid, if anything happens,
Yeah, absolutely.
we never know. Things are
I mean,
an ups.
uncertainty.
Uncertainty is always part of it. So
How old are you, Chiragh?
I am 37.
Okay, we both are 37. I believe something happens. We tend to get more philosophical after mid 30s. Some I mean, some fuse just opens up in the circuitry.
Yeah.
We get more philosophical, but I think it is helpful. I mean, you tend to marinate more on deeper subjects,
Yeah.
deeper aspects of life. The observation gets much more deeper, which I believe, at least in my case, and I can fairly say with our conversation, your case as well,
Right.
you tend to become more grateful.
Yeah.
Tend to
Correct.
talk to yourself positively about your own accomplishments, however small they might be,
Correct.
in the view of overall society. But you tend to appreciate your own traits as well.
Because I think the maturity comes in.
Yeah.
You've seen some aspects of life, and you start realizing, hey, this is key and important.
Sure.
And I mean, just recently I met a friend who obviously knew me before Ayoconnect, before knows me. It felt good not to speak about anything to do with Ayoconnect and not being judged, not being up. It's just he knew who I am for who I am.
Correct.
Being a childhood friend. And just
Correct.
That's precious.
Awesome. I think this was amazing. You are definitely on the way to create what you wanted to create within the society,
Hopefully.
with your parents, with your family. Wishing you loads of luck, and let's do this again sometime.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Bipin. I
Thank you,
think, I would love to hear your story as well at some point.
Sure.
Happy to be on the other side asking questions at some point.
We did that recently with Jimmy from Kitalulus. So I'll share that link with you. I think you'll get some idea.
I would love to hear.
All right. Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you.